Hello everyone. Today we will discuss elective geography of class 10 under seba, chapter number 1, that is physical geography. And the first topic is geomorphic process. So let's try to understand the meaning of geomorphic process. The surface of the earth is not plane. As we know that because of the presence of different kinds of landforms on the earth's surface, the earth surface is not a plane, it is very irregular. As there are hills and mountains, plateaus, river valleys, etc. on the continents, there are also submerged highlands and lowlands of various shapes and sizes on the ocean bottom. As we know that there are different kinds of landforms present on the continents, for example hills, plateaus, river valleys. Similarly, if we go to the ocean bottom, there also we can find different kinds of landforms which makes the ocean bottom very irregular. In this way, the surface of the earth is being characterized by varied types of features. So in this way, the entire earth surface is characterized by varied types of landforms. These features present over the earth's surface are called landforms. Okay, so the different types of features that are present on the earth's surface like mountains, hills, plateaus, plains or submerged island, ridges, trenches, all these features are called landforms. A particular branch of geography that studies about the origin, evolution, morphology, which means the different structure that present on the earth's surface, and also its distribution of landforms is called geomorphology. So in simple language, geomorphology is a branch of geography where we can study about the origin, evolution, morphology and distribution of the different kind of landforms that present on the earth surface. The origin of landforms on the earth's surface depends on various processes. So the different kinds of landforms that present on the earth's surface are dependent on different kinds of processes. Some of these processes are known as exogenic process, while some others are known as endogenic process. Exogenic generally that occurs on the earth's surface, which you can see, but endogenic process are those processes which takes place under the earth surface. Among the exogenic process or factors, the principal ones are wind, rainfall, rivers, glaciers, ocean waves and currents. So as I have already said that exogenic process or exogenic factors are those factors which we can see on the earth surface. That means exogenic process are clearly visible by our eyes. Some of the factors of exogenic process are mentioned here like wind, rainfall, rivers, glacier, ocean waves and currents. On the other hand, if we talk about the endogenic process or factors, these mainly include like earthquake and volcanoes. Okay, so in endogenic factors mainly two examples are given here. One is earthquakes and another one is volcano. The landforms develop on the surface of the earth as a result of interaction of these two types of processes. So generally whatever different kinds of landforms are present on the earth surface are only because of either exogenic factor or endogenic factors. These processes involved in the creation of landforms are collectively called geomorphic processes. So geomorphic processes are those processes through which the different kind of landforms are formed on the earth surface. For example, exogenic and the endogenic factors or the processes. Winds and glacier are the two most important geomorphic processes which are continuously causing changes in certain areas of the earth surface. So we have already seen that there are different kinds of endogenic and exogenic factors, but winds and glacier are the two most important geomorphic process which brings continuously changes on the earth surface. Okay, so from here we came to know the meaning of geomorphic processes. What is geomorphic processes? Geomorphic processes are those processes through which different kind of landforms are created on the earth surface. Let's see works of wind. Generally wind has three works, and we will discuss those three works of wind here. Winds have their varying effects in all places of the world. So the effect of wind can be seen in all the places of the world. The actions of winds are experienced more or less in all parts of the continent and oceans. That means the actions of wind can be seen in both continents and the oceans. However, the role of winds in the creation and modifications of landforms is very extensive in certain regions of the world. But there are certain regions in the world where we can see more effect of the wind in the formation of different kinds of landforms and also in the modifications of the landforms. Generally, the actions of winds as an agent of landforms modification are more active in the deserts where vegetative cover is very thin and the surface is sandy. Generally, the action of wind can be seen more in the desert area where green plants are very less and the area is covered by sand. As rainfall is very less in the deserts, action of running water and rivers are very limited. As we know that the amount of rainfall is very less in the desert area, as a result the action of running water is also very limited in those areas. Wind plays the major role in creating and changing the geomorphic features in the desert area. As just we came to know that the amount of rainfall is very less in the desert area, so the changes in the geomorphic features in the deserts area are occurred with the help of wind, not by the running water. That means most of the changes in the geomorphic features that occurred in the desert area are because of the wind. Wind performs three activities in deserts. So let's see the different works performed by the wind. The first work is erosion, then it comes transportation, and finally it is deposition. So in exam you may get a question where you will be asked to write the different activities of wind. So the answer will be erosion, transportation, and after that you have to write deposition. The sand and small rock particles are easily carried away by wind in desert due to thin vegetative cover and sandy surface. So in the desert area, the sand and small rocks particles are carried away from one place to another by the wind, and as vegetative cover, that means as the number of green plants are very less in the desert area, the speed of wind is generally high. So that speedy wind can carry small particles of rocks and sand from one place to another. In this way, some area of the desert are relatively lowered by wind actions. So when the wind blows from one place to another, it also carries some amount of sand and some small particles. So in this process, some area may get lowered by wind action, and this process is called deflation. Okay, so what is deflation? Deflation is the process through which sand and small rock particles are carried away by wind in the desert from one place to another. Okay, clear? As a result of transportation of materials to other parts, some areas may be lower down almost to the level of underground water, giving rise to some depressions which are then termed as oases. So because of deflation, when some places are lower down to the underground level, water comes out from there, and that place is known as oasis. And these places or the place which is located nearby the oasis have some green vegetations, and also some amount of water is used for the agriculture purposes. On the other hand, the wind blown sands get deposited and some area are thus aggraded. Aggraded generally means to raise up. So because of deflation, when sand is carried from one place to another and deposited in that new place, the area of the new place is generally raised up. The deposits of sand may take the form of hills in due course of time. Such hill-like sand deposits is known as sand dunes. So you should remember what is sand dune. So in simple I will try to explain you. Sand dune are those small hills which are generally created by deflation. That means because of deflation, when sand and dust are carried from one place to another, finally these sediments are deposited in a place where the surface may raised up and it may take the form of a hill, which is known as sand dunes. The shape and size of the sand dunes vary in time and over space. So the shape and size of the sand dunes does not remain same always. Some sand dunes are formed longitudinally along the direction of wind. These are called longitudinal sand dunes. So in this figure you can easily understand this arrow represent wind direction. That means from this side deflation is taking place. That means the wind is carrying sand and dust, and finally here this sand and dust have been deposited where the surface has raised up. This side it is completely plain and another side it is also plain, but here little bit the surface has raised up. We call it one sand dunes. As this sand dunes has been formed along the direction of wind, we call it longitudinal sand dunes. Again, some others are formed being transverse to wind action. Transverse generally means crossways we can say, or oblique. Such sand dunes are called transverse sand dunes. In certain areas of deserts, some sand dunes become crescent shaped. These are called barkhans. So here you can see barkhan, figure 1.02. Actually this is also an example of what? Sand dunes. Okay, as the sand dune take the crescent shape, we call it what? Barkhans. Okay, it is written here. If you have any doubt, you can see here. In certain areas of desert, some sand dunes become crescent shaped, which are called barkhans. That means barkhan is also an example of sand dunes. In fact, the shape and size of sand dunes depend on different factors like properties of wind, wind direction and energy, vegetative cover, surface structure, etc. That means the shape and size of sand dunes are not same. This depends on some of the factors like properties of wind, wind direction and energy. After that it comes vegetative cover, surface structure, etc. Sand dunes are characteristics features of desert's landscape. So sand dunes are some of the features, or you can even say that sand dunes are one of the characteristics that we can see in the desert. Some erosional features are also found in desert. The wind blows sands at high velocity, hit the elevated lands on their way and thereby erode them. Elevated generally means the uplifted or upraised lands. So during deflation, when the sands and small particles of rocks are carried away from one place to another, it get hit with the elevated lands on their way and where it create erosion. Such erosion caused as the result of friction is called abrasion. It means abrasion is a process of erosion which is caused by deflation. Try to understand this one. When deflation occurred, it carries sands and small particles of rocks from one place to another. On its way, the sands and the small particles of rocks may get hit with the elevated land where erosion may take place. So this erosion which is caused by friction is called abrasion. Abrasion process is responsible for creation of inselberg. So when abrasion takes place continuously, the shape of the hill get changed, which later it form inselberg or yardang and other kinds of erosional features. The inselberg is an isolated low hillock. So inselberg are the result of abrasion, and abrasion are the result of what? Erosion, and that erosion takes place because of deflation. The upper part of inselberg is steep. The upper part you can see here, the upper part of the inselberg is steep due to high intensity of wind action in this part than on its lower part. Generally, the inselberg gets more velocity of wind on the upper part of a hill. On the other hand, yardang is another feature in the desert which is usually patterned by elongated ridges and shallow grooves. Yardang is also an example of abrasion. So here you can see the figure of yardang. These relatively soft rocks between hard rocks of two sides are easily eroded by wind, and as a result a high raft surface is formed. Here you can see some of the portion had been raised up while some of the other had already been eroded. So what is the reason behind this? We will try to see. Actually this portion had soft types of rocks. Again here this portion had also been eroded because here it had also soft kind of rocks. So the area which had soft kind of rocks had been eroded while the area which had hard types of rocks had not been eroded. So because of that erosion a rough surface has been formed. Now let's see attrition. Attrition is another process of wind erosion in desert. The wind blown sand materials collide each other while in transit, and thus the particles themselves get broken gradually into smaller pieces. Because of deflation, when different rocks are carried from one place to another, sometimes these rocks can get collide with each other. As a result, these may get break down into smaller pieces. This process by which the sand and rock particles are broken into smaller pieces through their mutual collision is known as attrition. Okay, attrition is very simple. Attrition is a process by which the sand and rocks particles are broken into smaller pieces through their mutual collision. Generally, little amount of rainfall occurs in the desert, as we know that the amount of rainfall is very less in the desert area. In most of the areas, average annual rainfall is less than 20 centimeter. In most of the areas of desert area, the average rainfall is less than 20 centimeter. There may not be any rainfall in some years. Sometimes there may not be even rainfall for some years. But opposite to that, sometimes heavy rainfall takes place in the desert area within very short period of time, which can create even floods in the deserts, leading to modification of desert's landform. But when suddenly heavy rainfall takes place, flood may also occur in the deserts area, which will bring lot of changes in the landforms of the deserts area. The flood that occurs covering large area of desert is known as sheet flood. So the floods that occurs in the desert area which covers large area is known as sheet flood. So these sheet floods transport the different materials that present in the desert area from one place to another, and it also bring about drastic changes. Drastic changes means extreme changes in the desert topography. The erosion process generally means those processes which are connected with or caused by the action of wind. Okay, so the erosion processes mentioned above create various kinds of features or landforms in the peculiar environment of the deserts. So whatever erosion processes we have discussed above are responsible to create various kind of features and landforms in the environment of the desert. These landforms have their peculiar geomorphic characteristics which are different from that of fluvial or glacial landforms. These landforms have their peculiar geomorphic characteristics. That means the landform of the desert area have their own peculiar characteristics, and these are different from that of fluvial. Fluvial generally means the characteristics that we get in the river and oceans, and these are also different with the glacial landforms. So it means that the characteristics of the desert area are totally different with the characteristics that we found in the river and oceans, and as well as in the glacial landform, that means in the glacial region. So this much for today, and hope you have understood something about geomorphic process and works of wind. In the next day we will discuss about the remaining part of the lesson. Thank you very much for watching our video.